What's up, everybody? It's Pastor E. We're at Zoe for Life production, chilling out with the fellas, and playing a little poker, cards, mixed with dominoes, eating pizzas, chilling out. And what we've been doing is discussing this issue of how does it feel, to not have a father growing up and things like that. So it's been interesting. So we're just gonna keep it rolling. One thing I do want to say is that you can have a dad in a house, and not have a father. I had a father. He was in the house, but he didn't take on that father role. For a man that wasn't saved, I think he did a good job. But I didn't know anything about females, how to fix a car, how to play basketball. Those are things that fathers are supposed to teach their sons. They're supposed to teach their sons about their bodies, sex, not like do it or don't do it, but actually how. So, I didn't have that. I had issues. I didn't finish high school. I got involved in drugs. As you guys will see on the screen, all the statistics, for young men that didn't have fathers in the house, lack of education, dropout, drugs. So, anybody else feel like, you was affected by not having a father?
So, with me, it wasn't necessarily not having a father. It was same as yours, having a father there, but he wasn't there.
Anybody relate to that? Oh, okay.
So it's like growing up, I learned stuff from my dad because he was a single parent too, and learned how to buy stuff in bulk, paying bills, which ones to pay first, just basic stuff. But when I got to a point where I moved in with my mom, like I saw my dad. I lived with my dad for like a majority of my life, but he worked at Firestone, and that was almost like a 12-hour job every day, Monday through Friday. So it was 12 hours I didn't see my dad. So I would wake up, go to school, and he'll be home. But by the time I got out of school, it was time for him to go to work. So there was like high and by type situations. So things I didn't learn was, of course, like sex and stuff like that. It just felt, he tried to teach me that when I got older, but it was too late.
A little too late, huh? Yeah.
I
relate to that.
It just like with that kind of situation, it just I just feel awkward when I talk to my dad. I feel like I'm talking to like just some stranger. Cause I don't know nothing about my dad's background. All I know is what school he went to, and that he went to the military for like a couple years. Other than that, I don't even know how old my dad is, even though he was in my life. Like I don't know what he like to eat. I don't know what TV shows.
But, that's the same thing with me. I didn't know when my father's birthday. He was there when he got off work. But after he cooked, he cleaned up, and that's what I learned. How to grocery shop, how to write a grocery list. But then he was never there to talk about those essential things. The sex and how to have sex. So what happened with me, I leaned to my own understanding and just made up stuff, or talked to my best friend who's a year older. So of course he's a year older. He know everything. So I can relate to that. I don't know about anybody else.
And then another thing, having a step parent, that was the complete opposite. But like my stepdad worked at the same place, so it was the same situation except for he was a super passive person. Like my dad isn't passive, but my stepdad was. So it was like going from seeing my dad take care of a household to a guy that just let my mom run everything and get ran over. I'm saying both perspectives. So I kind of became passive because of that. So I was still young when I moved in with my mom. I would say about 13 or 14. So like both those spectrums kind of gave me two different sides of what a man should be, but I still didn't learn. Like neither one of them taught me directly what a man should be.
Before you hit that, I want to ask everybody, One by one. Who taught you sex? TV, porn. How many? Let's make it easier. I know TV, porn, ourselves. How many? Let's make it easier. How many of your fathers talked about sex and how to? My hands down. And actually foreplay, how to do it. He didn't know either. I like that. Say that again, man.
If my dad knew what he was doing, I wouldn't have been here.
Exactly. So can I ask this question? How did it affect you sexually?
For real.
Go say what that?
Well, sexually. Oh, I was trying to knock down everything I saw. 'Cause I didn't know that you had to control yourself. I didn't know if it was great.
Because he never talked about it or anything, I was introduced to porn at like 8. I was hunching at 9, and I lost my virginity by 11.
So that's one of the effects of not having father. Anybody else?
Well, I mean, on the sex topic, he didn't teach me anything. Mine was actually embarrassing because I remember one day I was in my room and my mom knocked on the door, and she was like, "There's gonna be one day that you're gonna feel the urge to do something." And I was like, "What is she talking about?" After like 10 minutes, I found out she was talking about sex. Like she was trying to tell me about it, but I kept looking at her weird. Then she got up and left. But she tried, but it was like that wasn't her place to talk to me about that. So
Okay. Anybody mother tried to talk to him about sex? How was that? Awkward? Didn't work? So can we agree that a woman can't teach a boy how to be a man? You guys heard that. She cannot.
But to answer the first question, it was real similar to Rise. I actually ended up getting expelled from college, getting suspended from high school all the time, getting referrals, just getting in trouble because my dad was in the house, but he wasn't teaching me anything. And it, like, jacked me up because I used to just stare at him while he was watching TV, like, do you even love me? Like, what is this? Like, how did you and my mom meet? Like, it was kind of deep, and I didn't know who I was for a long time. So I'm still learning myself. So.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I just see my father sitting down after he cleaned up and did all those great things, just sitting down watching television. And sometimes I just walk in there and like, will you talk to me? Will you hug me? I couldn't even approach my father about sex. That's how awkward it was, because he didn't talk. And so I was the same way. Actually, my best friend told me, who was a year older, he said, all women want to be hit. That's how you know that they love you. So when I got to a certain age, I decided to hit. One thing he didn't tell me that them females hit back and scratch back and call the police. See, now it's called domestic violence. See? And that's why it's really foolish to allow someone your age to try to teach you how to be something.
With me, like, I was a product of divorce, and my parents, like, they ended up getting divorced before I actually was, like, even introduced to sex, because I was still only, like, I was, like, 12 when they got divorced, and that was literally probably the last time I spoke and seen my father face to face, but by that time, like, when sex came into the picture, like, he wasn't there, and so I was, like, confused, and I didn't really know, like, how to go about it, and I didn't want to be, like, embarrassed amongst my peers, and so it was, like, I didn't really know who to ask or whatnot, so it was more so trial and error for me.
I didn't ask. Come on, who with me? Don't leave me hanging. I didn't ask. It was like, you can't be asking your partner, But to be honest, that's what a father's job. That's what his job. He is there to explain everything about it. Not just tell you, but even show you through books and this goes there. You know, maybe that's why a lot of guys don't know where things go.
All right, so pretty much with me is just like I had parents there, but I have also 5 brothers and sisters. So it's like they had to divide all their attention to everybody, and they just be really tired at the end of the day. So it's like to have a good relationship when you're a kid and then watch it go downhill because your parents are like tired all the time and just, like staying at home and they just want to go to sleep and they just want to chill. It really like lets the world raise you, especially, I was kind of a computer, kid, and I would hang out in the computer, go online, go on the internet, and there's like a lot of stuff on there that you can, get raised by and corrupted by. So like, especially if you're like chatting with girls or whatever, people you don't know, it's like I was doing things at 12 years old, 20-year-old girls from other countries. It's crazy. But at the end of the day, it's just like, I think it's the father's job to kind of, definitely teach about like, sports, to just get out of the house and stuff. And it really doesn't help to have conservative parents that are like, you can't go out, you can't, it's almost like it makes you antisocial because they're like, you can't go out. Oh, I can't sleep over my friend's house. What's the problem with that? And I don't know, I think, if you don't know your kids, that's probably why you don't trust them, because you don't know that they're just like you, like they'll probably be a good person, but if you think the worst of them, then they're just going to do the worst probably.
Z4L.